Come on now, fellas! We've got to answer the bell. Now let's go!
Good Wednesday afternoon. Welcome in Main Street Sports today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. I'm Chris Yow, joined by Mo Patton, and we are glad to have you guys with us here on this fine Wednesday. And I just feel like I'm not loud enough, but maybe I am. I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know that that's ever been a complaint that Chris Yow is not loud enough.
I don't know. I'm always lower than your volume, and I don't know why.
Well, I think I'm naturally turned up because I'm quieter, so I don't know.
I don't know. It's wild. I don't understand what's going on, but I can hear you, so that's really all.
There we go. Everything else is secondary.
We're working on it. Exactly. We're working on everything else. Well, it is Wednesday. It is hump day. We're just about to the backside of the week. I want to let you know that we're going to be on location tomorrow out at Cumberland University as the TSWA will hold its annual Hall of Fame banquet
and awards.
So that should be fun. We'll see a lot of fine folks that we haven't seen in a while and be looking forward to that. So make sure to catch us tomorrow. You never know who might sit down at the table. Mm-hmm. We've also got a great show today as former Atlanta Braves reliever Eric O'Flaherty will join us. Talk a little bit about the All-Star game, some news about Rob Manfred coming out today, get his thoughts on that. We'll also talk to Heather Williams about NASCAR. They were in Atlanta this past weekend, heading to New Hampshire. Ross Chastain has a new sponsor, brand new sponsor, so that'll be fun. We'll talk a little bit about that. And Stewart Haas Racing, Tony Stewart is potentially in some the company could be in some trouble. So we'll get the latest on that as well. We've also got some Tennessee baseball we'll get to momentarily. We'll talk a little bit about the NBA, some rule changes, and some interesting stuff going on in the world of college football. So,
I bet you're not referring to Big 12 Media Days, are you?
I am not referring to Big 12 Media Days.
Well, they did start today.
Oh, who knew?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll get to all of that and much more on today's show. Hope you guys will stick with us for the next hour and a half or so. Until then, we will give you yesterday's results, short as they were, some of today's results, and tonight's schedule on the rundown.
This is the Rundown.
Summer League Baseball last night. The post-19 seniors went down to Lawrenceburg and picked up a pair of victories over the Lawrence County Jaybirds, 13-0 and 9-0, improving to 22-4 on the summer, did the post-19 squad with that doubleheader sweep. Major League Baseball, the All-Star game came and went, and Elias Diaz saved the day for the National League with a 2-run homer late. The Colorado Rockies catcher gave the NL a 3-2 victory over the American League, snapping a 9-game losing streak for the senior circuit. In WNBA action last night, it was the Washington Mystics with a 93-86 win over the Seattle Storm, and the Las Vegas Aces downed the Phoenix Mercury 98-72. In Wednesday's, that's today's, Commissioner Cup play earlier today, yes, the New York Liberty went overtime to defeat the Indiana Fever 95-87. It was the Connecticut Sun 84, the Chicago Sky 72. So the Sun beat the Sky.
It did, in fact.
And the Dallas Wings with a 107-67 win over the Minnesota Lynx.
Today's action across all sports that we have. Soccer. Major League Soccer action tonight at Geodis Park, 7:30 first touch for Philadelphia at the Nashville Soccer Club. And in CONCACAF Gold Cup play at 6:30, you can catch it on FS1. It's Panama and the USA in semifinal action. Summer League action is the Clippers and Grizzlies. That is in just a few minutes at 2:30 on NBA TV. And the WNBA tonight continues with the Storm and the Dream in Atlanta, 6 o'clock, and Las Vegas travels to Los Angeles at 9 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. That, folks, is your rundown. Today's top story, as it is every day, is brought to you by our friends at Piggly Wiggly, located at Neely's Mill in Columbia. Although some of us may call it the Hoggly Woggly on occasion.
The Big Pig.
The Big Pig. It's got plenty of nicknames, and we appreciate Jody and the fine staff there for delivering hand-cut meats each and every day, fresh produce, and, of course, the great daily options that are on hand each and every day. Make sure to go see the fine folks over there. Now, top story number one, Mo.
Number one.
We do have a couple options today, and we'll see how far we get. But learned earlier today that Tennessee baseball will be without a couple of players they didn't necessarily think they were going to be without. As Jared Dickey, who was drafted in the 11th round by the Kansas City Royals, way ahead of his projected number.
Way ahead of or way behind?
Way ahead of, because they were expecting, they wanted to wait to the 11th round so that they could pay him enough that he would leave college. So there's a cap in each of the first 10 rounds. But if you draft somebody in the 11th, you can pay him whatever you want. And apparently they thought he was good enough to be paid a lot heftier than what some thought.
So he was worthy of being paid at a top 10 selections value, basically.
Yes. But in order to get him to come out of college, they were going to have to overpay.
He had a number then.
He had a number, and Kansas City said, we'll take it.
So has he announced that he's going to sign then?
He is going to sign. Also, when he got drafted, folks realized that he was probably going to sign because they knew that Kansas City was going to pay whatever it took.
Well, if anybody should.
But, yeah, Wofford transfer Ryan Galaney.
Won't be getting to campus.
Won't be making it to campus. Yep, Galaney was taken by the White Sox in the 13th round. And will try his hand at the Major League Baseball system. He was obviously the SoCon Player of the Year and was one of the big gets for Tony V.
Yeah,
in the
theoretically.
offseason.
It's interesting. I was involved in a conversation yesterday on Twitter regarding the projected UT starting lineup for next year. And Ryan Galaney, and I can't remember who it was that I was in this conversation with, but Ryan Galaney was projected in right field, and Kavaris Tears was projected somewhere other than the starting 9. And, you know, maybe biased, but it doesn't mean I'm wrong. If Kavaris Tears cannot get on the field for the University of Tennessee this year, I would be all for him transferring.
Well, looks like he's going to get that chance.
Well, you know, that's the tough thing though right now that you're dealing with the transfer portal, because everything that we've heard out of UT over the past couple of years is that they love Kavaris Tears' skill set. When we've seen him on the field, when he's been healthy, he's shown that he is not overmatched in the Southeastern Conference. He has dealt with some injury situations and that kind of thing. But, you know, the idea of him continuing to sit and wait his turn, as someone said during this conversation, he'll be a redshirt sophomore next year. Obviously, he was redshirted his freshman year. This was his redshirt freshman year. Played some, probably not as much as he should have, but I mean, that team was loaded, obviously. But again, if he can't get on the field next year, there's some place he can.
Absolutely, but my assumption now is Kavaris Tears probably takes right field. And here's the thing: that's the one positive if you're Tennessee.
Well, and also, I mean, did Blake Burke get signed? What is his situation? Because Tears can also play first base.
I'm not entirely sure, because the story that I'm reading from is specifically
to those two guys.
To those two. Mm-hmm. But, you know, with Kavaris probably going to end up in right field, it just kind of makes you wonder, though, if you love Kavaris as much as you say you do, why are you going out and recruiting the transfer portal for right fielders?
Well, I mean, you're not necessarily recruiting the transfer portal for right fielders, but you are trying to get the best talent you can get and let them come in and compete. And just because Ryan Galaney was coming didn't mean he was going to get on the field.
That's true.
I mean,
he certainly could have been in the DH role, because that's kind of why they brought him in, was to hit.
Yeah, position hitter. Yeah. But I mean, I don't fault UT for being active in the transfer portal. I mean, I think every college athlete knows that, you know, nothing's going to be given to them. They are not holding a spot for you. You got to go out and get it. But at the same time, if you're blocked and there's someplace else you can go play, particularly in this era, why would you not?
Yeah, you got to go.
So,
but looks like hopefully we will see 23 on the field. I feel like this is kind of a positive, kind of a negative for Tennessee. Obviously, you've got to now replace Jared Dickey and Ryan Galaney in the lineup.
Yeah, but again, that team, that roster is stacked. And to lose an outfielder who it took a while to settle into an outfielder's role, if you recall, he was getting some time at catcher at some point while he was at UT. They brought in a transfer from NC State, Cannon
Peebles,
at catcher, so that should solidify that position. You know, they've got KT, they've got outfielders. I think Kyle Booker is another guy that they're excited about. So,
and Dylan Drawling,
who saw most of his run at DH this past season, I think. So I mean, Hunter Ensley finally settled in center field, but I think KT got some time in center when he was on the field this year as well. So
Tennessee's
They've
gonna
got
be
a lot of
stacked.
pieces. They've
Yeah.
got a lot of pieces.
There's no
And
question they'll be one of the top ranked teams in the country next year.
So I don't know that you don't want to lose talent.
Yeah, you like to have the depth,
but I think they'll be okay.
And the positive is, essentially, look, we are churning out Major League Baseball prospects left and right here at Tennessee.
Yeah, and again, that's something you can go and take on the recruiting trail. Now, just because you get them signed doesn't mean you get them to campus either. Because I mean, Carson Rucker from Good Pasture was a UT signee who I believe has signed with the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah,
or has committed to sign with the Detroit Tigers, because I spoke with Jaden Ham earlier today. He's flying down to Lakeland tomorrow to the Tigers complex and will sign down there. So I don't know if you sign and go or if you go and sign. Yeah. So.
Yeah, the fourth round is probably an iffy spot for a high school kid. And
yeah, but I think the MO for most of these teams is, if we take you, are you going to sign? And the enthusiasm with which they get that yes kind of goes a long way as to whether or not they actually execute that pick, because you don't want to take somebody in the fourth round and not be able to get them signed. So.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I think Rucker, if it were any later, he might have ended up in Knoxville, but I think the fourth round was kind of going to be pretty close to the cutoff. And that may be what he told him. Look, if it's not now, it's never.
Right.
And so, he nearly snuck onto campus, but congrats to him.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, anytime
fantastic.
These guys get the opportunity for their childhood dream, you can't be disappointed with them. Can't be bothered with that. So
not at all. Hey, before we get to our first break of the day, Mo, let's dive in just a little bit to a couple of rule changes have been executed in the association. One of them has to deal with flopping. And I'm very curious how this is going to affect the game in the coming year, because one, flopping typically means there is some judgment involved.
Mm-hmm.
And you've said on this show a number of times, judging intent is
it's a slippery slope.
Impossible.
Yeah.
But when a referee now calls a flop, there's a non-unsportsmanlike technical foul called on the offending player's team. So the opposing team gets a free throw. Referees won't have to stop play to call a flop. They can wait till the next stop in live action to make the call. But it obviously goes with the non-unsportsmanlike technical. It goes back to the point of interruption. So it is going to be interesting, because the NBA has certainly seen more of it recently. And the Grizzlies were certainly among the teams most affected in the playoffs last year by it. And that's all I'm going to say about that particularly. But this is on a trial basis. They're going to try. So essentially, they're going to allow referees to stop the game even and assess the technical, even if it's not immediate. Which means it happens, you report a foul, next thing you know, or you don't. I'm sorry, if it happens and you don't call a foul, coach is in your ear. That was absolutely a flop. It was absolutely a flop. Blah, blah, blah.
Then
blah,
you
blah.
can go
back. You got to go back and say,
that was a flop.
Now
Now
that you mention it,
yeah.
I don't know if that's a great idea.
I guess we'll see how it plays out. You said it's experimental, right?
It is a 1-year trial basis. Good call on that one.
Yeah, I think that might be the best call there. Yeah, 1 year. And I mean, I'm sure that'll give them a sample size on it and hopefully give them some direction as to whether to continue with it in that manner or tweak it in some way, shape, or form. So
coaches will also have access to a second challenge in the coming year. If you win your first challenge, you get your timeout back. If you win your second challenge, too bad, so sad, you still lose a timeout, but you might get the call. I don't know what sense that makes, but sure, I guess.
yeah,
I mean, you got 27 timeouts in an NBA game anyway per team. So, I mean, they rarely use them all.
mm-hmm.
So I guess whatever. But those are the two new rules that will be in the NBA this coming year. We'll see how flopping works out. We'll take a break. And when we come back, Heather Williams will join us as we talk a little bit of NASCAR. So stick around here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. We'll come back to the Lee Company studio right after this. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Maury County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back in. Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint, coming to you live from the Lee Company studio here in Columbia. Glad to have you guys with us as we are getting ready for a fun weekend. The backside of the week should be fun, should be a good weekend. But we better rest up while we can, because next week is going to be a grind.
The calm before the storm.
The SEC Media Days will come to you live from the Grand Hyatt, and looking forward to that very much.
If we can get there.
Yeah.
With the Broadway Bridge situation.
Broadway Bridge situation. I don't know what we're going to do. I guess
it's going to be wreaking havoc.
We may have to park in Midtown and ride scooters. I don't know. It'll be interesting. If you see us on scooters, mind your business.
Mind your business. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Oh man.
No videos, please.
All right. But speaking of unique vehicles, we'll go now to Heather Williams to talk a little bit of NASCAR, as that's an interesting choice of blocks there. There we go. Oh man. Well, Heather, how are you? How are things?
Well, there's so much to unpack in that lead-in. First of all, when you're talking about being able to get there, I thought you were talking about all the Alabama fans that are going to be flooding the media days like they always do, just to stand around and I guess get a glimpse of the great one. The picture of you two on scooters. Also, a lot to unpack there. I'm gonna need video if that happens. I'm gonna need video if that happens.
I can tell you with all certainty, if either of us is on a scooter, it will only be one of us.
And if anyone is on a scooter, there will not be video evidence.
If one of us is on a scooter, there will be video evidence. I can tell you that. But you mentioned though the Alabama contingent, and it's always interesting, you know. I guess this will be the second time that Media Day has not been in Birmingham. Last year it was at the College Football Hall of Fame over in Atlanta, and I'm interested to see how they travel, because it's a lot easier to get there when it's in Birmingham every year. You know, will they actually come up here for that?
You know, last year the crowds were certainly much smaller than they normally are in Hoover,
particularly in that sense. Yeah,
but there were some people there. It's Nashville, man.
Yeah,
it's Nashville. I don't know.
People look for an excuse to come, so that there's that. But you know, Heather, speaking of comings and goings, where were you this weekend?
I was in Bristol. I did not get to go to Atlanta, but
boo.
But I know.
Probably for the best.
The folks with the Bristol Motor Speedway actually worked the race. They were like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "On my couch." But I'll be honest with you, it was okay. I love going to Atlanta. That's maybe my favorite track to be at. I love the vibe. I love being that close to the city. But that kind of racing, honestly, is better on television. And most races are not, but that is, because they're all in the pack and you can literally see all of the action at once instead of having to look all over the track. Atlanta, Daytona, Talladega, made for television.
And it's hard to see those cars when they're driving 180. It's hard to actually see them in person. Like, you can see them on the backstretch if you're on the front, but that's about it.
Well, especially when they're all clumped into a pack.
Yeah,
it's hard to.
It just looks like a pack of flies just moving across there.
Heather, is it anticlimactic, or maybe a better question would be, how anticlimactic is it when the winner wins a rain-shortened race, as William Byron did this weekend?
I don't think that it is at all, especially in this race, in this particular race, or as the race, for example, when Bubba won at Talladega, when you know the rain is coming and you have several hours of lead up to it, you know that you're probably not going to get to the conclusion of the race because of the rain. Then it's like a chess game, right? Do I pit now? Is the rain going to come now? Do I need to stay out? But I'm almost out of gas. But if I pit now and it doesn't rain, then I'm going to run out of gas. Like, that drama within the race I mean, is it disappointing to not go the full length? Sure it is. But that extra drama almost makes it worth it, because especially there at the end, you didn't know. Those guys up front were like, we think it's going to rain now, but we're not sure. But if we go back to green, we're screwed because the rain could come at any time and we don't have enough gas. We're going to have to pit. We're going to have to give up track position. Some of them were very close to running out of gas while they were running all those laps under caution, trying to decide if the rain was going to get there or not. So, I mean, that's drama. I enjoy that as much as I do, watching Kyle Larson win by a half a lap at North Wilkesboro. I mean, this is way better than that.
Yeah, because you're not racing to a flag, you're racing to the rain. That means every lap can count, because at any point
it could start raining.
At any point, you're done.
And so you're racing hard like it's the last lap every lap, and it can get a lot. And Atlanta, particularly with its new surface, it was really entertaining. I thought it was another great race for Atlanta. Atlanta has certainly found its groove, so to speak, with this new surface, and I hope that it continues, obviously. So I thought,
and as a night race, Atlanta has always been much, much better as a night race, in my opinion. It's so hot in Atlanta. I've been at races down there where it's been just downright miserable. If they're going to keep it in the summer, because used to be Atlanta was like one of the first races and one of the last races. If they're going to keep it in the summer, running at night is in this configuration, it's like perfect Atlanta.
It really is. So another big weekend for NASCAR. Now, William Byron and the 24 car have been just phenomenal all year long. I'll be honest with you, I did not think William Byron was going to be this good at the beginning of the year. Nobody saw him being
what kind of odds could you have gotten on William Byron becoming the first 4-time Cup winner this season at the beginning of the year?
Being the first, probably not many winning 4 races. You probably could have convinced me to take that bet. I mean, the thing about William all through his career has always been he's a notoriously quick starter to the season, but this is the part of the year where the 24 team has, and the 9 when he drove that briefly, loses its steam, right? Or the 5, the 9, whichever one he drove briefly. No, he has always been in the 24. I'm thinking of Chase. Sorry, getting confused. Ever since he's been in the 24, they've always started out quickly. They've always won races early. They won 2 or 3 races right out of the bat last year, but they haven't been able to sustain that over the summer. What makes this team so dangerous this year is that here we are in the middle of the summer at the part of the season where William Byron usually loses steam. Boom, he wins a race. That's what makes them dangerous, is that they don't seem to be losing the steam and the stamina that they have in the past. And that's probably maturity and experience, right? I think that he's also been able to take the advantage of the fact that the 9 and the 48, his teammates, are down a little bit this year. That 24 team, I think you can make an argument in past years that was the number 4 car in the Hendrick stables, right? I mean, he was definitely behind the 9 and the 5 as far as pecking order goes for things. And, maybe he's ahead of Alex. Maybe Alex is ahead of him. But with Alex and Chase both being injured, Williams been able to take advantage of. He's the dog right now. He's got more wins than Kyle Larson. He's definitely running better than those other 2 cars. He's the dog in the stable, and that's who gets fed. And so I think that they're probably getting more attention. They're being treated a little bit more as a championship contender within the garage and within their own organization. And so all of those put together, I think, is he's taken advantage of the opportunity when it's been there.
All I could think of was William Byron, dog. Alex Bowman,
dog. He's really not
Chase Elliott, dog. One of my favorite clips.
I'm intrigued by the fact that Daniel Suarez finished second, because we are a track house tilted show here. Coming behind SVG at Chicago and Chastain at Nashville, they're on a nice little run right now.
They are. And the 99 car needed that. And, it was strategy to put the 99 car up there. It wasn't his best race. But as we discussed, everybody's racing towards the same goal. Everybody knew that the rain was coming. They made the right moves. And sometimes just a little finish like that, just a little luck to finally go your way can change a season. Because I don't think that the 99 has particularly been running poorly this season. They've had some bad luck. And then when you have bad luck and you're racing back with the guys that normally race 20th, that can make your day worse because those guys don't race the same as the guys that normally are racing 10th. So I think just that little bit of change in luck could really make a difference for Daniel, and get that team in the position to win a race and or make the playoffs.
Speaking of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Playoffs.
Looks like we've got, is it 11 winners to this point? 5 spots available for points drivers potentially, but obviously, how far away are we, Heather? A month or so?
I believe there are 7 races left.
6. All right, so 7 races away. Obviously, 5 different drivers could win in those 7 races, and then we're in a
7 drivers could win potentially.
Yeah, and who knows? And so, and obviously, it is a fight to try to get in these things. Of the guys at the 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, that area, how important is it for guys like Chris Buescher, Michael McDowell, Daniel Suarez, Bubba Wallace, AJ, Ty to get wins? How important is it to win to make sure you get in for those, or can they get in on points?
I mean, they could, especially more towards the Chris Buescher end. But it's funny that you mentioned that because I actually had a chance to talk to Chris today, and he talked about how much he hates points racing, right? But this playoff system has really put them in the position where you sometimes have to, but he always approaches it as he's going for a win. If they show up to the track and they're just completely out to lunch and they're not competitive, then okay, they'll go points racing. But I think that's actually served that team, particularly him and Brad, really well, because if you're always coming with the mentality to try to win, then you're usually going to be running up front. And so, a win is everything because at this point, with only 7 races left, it's unlikely we're going to get more than 5 winners. And so if you have a win, more than 7 winners, well, more than 5 winners. So
right.
If you have a win, you're probably in the playoffs at this point, where last year that was a question mark. So getting that win is really important. Like it's everything because that will pretty much secure your place in the playoffs.
Speaking with Heather Williams of WCYB TV and, of course, our favorite NASCAR segment each and every week. Heather, good news, bad news situation. Stewart-Haas, bad news, but it's good news for Ross Chastain. Busch leaves Stewart-Haas and heads to Trackhouse, where they will be the primary sponsor for the number 1 Ross Chastain.
Yeah, everybody always talks about silly season when it comes to the drivers and landing the big free agents, but this was the absolute big fish in the pond when it comes to free agent sponsors. This is a long-standing sponsor, sponsors a ton of races, is the official beer of the sport, so they're just pouring money into the sport. And to land that for Trackhouse, that's a cornerstone type of sponsorship. That's the kind of sponsorship that takes what's already a really good team and gives them the money and the visibility to take it even to the next level. These are the kind of sponsors, without being too hyperbolic here, but these are the kind of sponsors that like Hendrick Motorsports is founded on, with DuPont. Those anchor kind of sponsors is what helps you, be secure and be grounded in the sport and be able to build something. It's really a cornerstone. So it's a huge get for Trackhouse and particularly for Ross. And they did that just by pure performance, right? Right timing, right time. Kevin's leaving. Ross finished second in the points last year. He's super visible. He's super popular because of what he did and how he got to the championship 4 last year, and all those stars just aligning. And then, of course, I think a lot of it has to do with the leadership of Trackhouse. I've said this over and over again. Justin and Ty and Pitbull and all the guys that are involved in that organization, they just don't seem to make very many wrong moves. Like, they've just done everything to get this organization on the ground about as perfectly as you could do it. And it's kudos to them.
It's insane. The problem is, what does it mean for Stuart Haas? It's an issue.
They've got a little bit of trouble, but I mean, let's be honest. Gene Haas has enough money that he could run all 4 teams out of his pocket if he really wants to go down this road. So, I mean, it's not like they're going to have to, contract a team or anything. And they'll find sponsors, to fill up those dates. I mean, they'll get names on the car, or Gene will just throw his company on there. That's what he did for a whole season of Kurt Busch in the 41. It was the Haas Automations car. And I think he kind of likes some of that, the same way that, Rick Hendrick, he was out looking for a sponsor for Kyle Larson after nobody would touch him when he brought him into the sport after everything that went on. And he found that it was a much better business decision to have his own auto dealership on the car. Kyle was winning and it was bringing money into his auto dealership. And he's like, why do I want to give that away to somebody else? So, they'll be fine. It is going to be tough. It is going to be more expensive for Gene and Tony and the organization, but they're not an organization or an ownership group that's hurting for money.
Well, I certainly, obviously you don't typically think about this kind of stuff breaking during the summer in the middle of the season, but when it does, it does make for some fun segments on talk radio and talk television. So we appreciate that. But New Hampshire this weekend, what's to expect?
It's kind of it's a big short track, so to speak. It's flat. It's not really a short track because it's, over a mile long, but it races a little bit like a short track. They will have all their rain stuff there because it's a shorter track that's so flat. So if it's drizzling, if it's rained earlier in the day and the track's not quite dry, they will be able to go out there with their little windshield wipers and their blinky lights and their rain tires and run laps. So that possibility is out there for the weekend. That track is not the most dramatic track on the schedule, but they do have some of the most passionate fans on the schedule. Racing roots are very deep in New England, and the fans up there, they love their racing and they love NASCAR. So I think a little of that makes up for the fact that it's not the most exciting race on the track, and the way that this generation of car has struggled on the shorter tracks. I don't expect this to be anything like what we saw last week in Atlanta. I think it's going to be a little bit of a letdown from the last 2 weeks, but it'll still be good racing. It'll still be entertaining. It'll still be a packed house. And, every game can't be the World Series. You do have to play some regular season games. And so this is, a regular season game.
All right. There you go. Heather, as always, looking forward to this weekend. And I guess we may have to skip next week. We got a lot going on, as you know.
Is there something in Nashville next week? I'm trying to. Oh yeah, you guys are riding scooters next week.
That's right. We'll be riding scooters. That's exactly right. Oh man, but yeah. So we'll let you know. We'll keep you abreast of the situation. But we do appreciate you each and every week, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
All right, have fun next week, guys.
Got it. Heather Williams with us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, talk a little bit about college football. Got some high school football news that we'll mention as well, get into for just a few minutes, and then we'll talk about Georgia and the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. We talked about Georgia Championship Wrestling yesterday. Maybe we just need to put them in the squared circle and see what happens. So stick around. We'll be right back after this.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think about calling for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that can happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone.
There is nothing better than drinking an ice-cold beverage while taking in a Nashville Sounds baseball game. Hi, I'm Stephanie Miller with Mornings on Main Street. The Nashville Sounds and Main Street Media Television have teamed up to promote Sunday Family Fun Day here at First Horizon Park, each Sunday home game. Just go to your favorite Main Street Media website and click on Sounds Main Street Media Day banner to register to win free tickets. And then we'll see you here at the ballpark.
Tired of hanging lights every year? We get it. That's why Southern Nights is here to help. We install programmable lighting on your home or business so you can enjoy beautiful, customizable lighting all year round. No more ladders, tangled lights, or cold nights outside. We do the work, you do the celebrating. Call Southern Nights today and take the hassle out of holiday lighting forever. For a free quote, give us a call at 931-241-3074 or visit our Facebook page at Southern Nights.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd, the goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Experience Predators hockey all season long. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets and join the Loyal Legion today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets, and we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
July 12th, 1992, Jeff Blauser became the fourth shortstop to hit 3 home runs in a game with a solo shot in the second inning, one in the sixth, and a 3-run bomb in the 10th that provided the difference in the Braves' 7-4 victory at Wrigley Field over the Cubs. Blauser, who joined Ernie Banks, Freddie Patek, 5'4", Freddie Patek, by the way, and Barry Larkin in accomplishing the feat, had hit 39 home runs in his previous 6 MLB seasons. Side note, Blauser finished his career as a Cub, hitting 13 total homers in 1998 and 99 after signing as a free agent. That was this day in Braves history. A little early, by the way.
Yeah. As we have a former Braves reliever up, we'll talk baseball in the next segment. So, but we'll go ahead and get that out of the way. That way,
it's done.
Yeah, it's done.
It's done.
Real quick, college football news. High school football news first. Story on MainStreetMurray.com right now. Summertown, once again, looking for a coach, or are they just going to go back to what they were doing?
Their previous head coach has resigned again. Rick Rice, who was initially named to replace Dakota Cruz in March of 2022, took over for 2 games, had some issues with his health insurance, stepped down, went back to Rutherford County, finished out the fall semester last year, came back to Summertown this spring, resigned again this morning. Not sure what they're going to do in his absence because the principal has not responded to phone calls. Jason Busby, who had been the defensive coordinator, took over in the interim last fall. Is that going to be the case again? Don't know, because Brian Porter won't call me back. So stay tuned.
There you go. Yeah. And I haven't read the story yet, so
it's okay.
What is there a specific reason? Is he going to continue teaching?
He is going to continue teaching at his high school alma mater, McEwen High School, over in Humphreys County. He's going back over there. He's going to teach over there. He will be coaching the football team at McEwen Junior High. He's going to help with baseball at the high school, but his mother is in declining health and wants to get back over.
I knew there was some health issues within the family. So,
yeah.
Obviously you don't love to see that kind of thing happen. And especially you hate it right now for those kids at Summertown who are literally a month and 6 days away from playing their first ball game.
Exactly.
But, family first in most instances is a good rule of thumb.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. And I mean, he addressed it. The timing's terrible. I apologize for that. I apologize to the players. I apologize to the coaches, and I apologize to Summertown High School. But it's a decision I had to make. So, it's tough. But, it's not the first time we've seen football coaching changes coming out of the dead period either.
No, especially not in this area.
Mm-hmm. So.
Let's talk a little college football.
Yeah.
As the University of Georgia has decided that they want to take the most direct route possible to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
Straight at them.
A cease and desist letter demanded a retraction from the publication regarding some stories written about players and abuse and other things. I'm curious, one, what's going to happen. The AJC actually wrote a story today, Mo, that basically received a cease and desist and demand for retraction.
Did they address whether or not they will comply with said cease and desist letter and retract the article?
I don't know. And
Is the article still on?
I don't know, and I'll tell you why.
Because it's behind a paywall.
Because it is behind a paywall, and I don't care to buy the Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
Yeah. That's unfortunately, that's something that we run into as journalists. And I tweeted something completely unrelated 6 weeks or so ago. I'm never going to knock anybody for a paywall.
No.
I mean, I'm not going to pay for it, but I'm not going to knock anybody else. I mean, that's a portion of how we get paid.
No, absolutely.
So,
and I would love to read the one story, but
yeah, but
I'm not paying whatever the price is to read the
one story. And you would like to see some sort of an a la carte situation.
I'll give you 99 cents or 49 cents for a story or something
for
like that.
A story, yes. But when I'm only going to read one story in the Harrisburg Times, I'm not going to buy a subscription.
I just can't do it. So anyway, that being said, the AJC is clearly not going to retract. If they were going to retract, they would have
already done so. Yeah.
So they must feel pretty good about their reporting. Now, Georgia.
But I mean, have you read that letter?
I have read the letter.
It's not behind a paywall.
No, it is not behind a paywall. It's pretty stern. And let's just say this. The University of Georgia and the Atlanta Journal-Constitution have been at war and odds for a long time.
Quite some time.
This is not something new. Georgia already feels like they have a vendetta against them in Atlanta for whatever reason. Perhaps it's warranted. I don't know. I don't know enough about the situation. But that being said, as a journalist, you cannot print something like that unless you got it. And if you ain't got it, you can't go with it.
General Counsel of the University of Georgia Athletic Association, Michael Raber, says the particular article in question is, quote, replete with errors, unsubstantiated allegations, innuendo, and possibly even fabrications. This article is the latest in a series by
Wait a minute, hold on. that wording don't sound right.
Replete with
but
errors,
possibly,
and possibly errors, unsubstantiated allegations, innuendos, and possibly even made up stuff. I mean,
okay, but why is it possibly?
I think it's possible because, and as you read the letter in its entirety, there was mention of videos that this article is based on. The videos have not been released by any reputable source.
Okay.
So either their stance is either the writer got the videos however he got them and misreported what was actually in them, or he has not seen the videos.
Yeah, I guess that's.
And
okay.
I think that's where possibly even fabrications comes from.
Okay. Okay. So that's, I'm sitting here thinking, well, if you think it's fabricated, then you can find out.
Not if you can't get the videos either.
So yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's where that comes from. Hang on, I just clicked on the hyperlink for the letter from this story that's on Saturday Down South.
Now, this story was written by an investigative journalist, Alan Judd. This would be like
it's like a News Channel 5
this would be a Phil Williams type situation, and my assumption is, and I don't believe Judd is a sports writer. He's an investigative reporter, so I think that has to be taken into account here. He knows what he's doing in this investigation. He's done his investigation. Now, I can't imagine that an investigative reporter would fabricate anything. So I'm really curious to see how that plays out in the end. I'm
trying to locate the specific reference to this video.
As far as from the letter?
Yeah. Okay. Hang on.
All right.
The AJC requested the police reports and underlying videos from this case from the UGA Police Department under the Open Records Act, but the supplemental police reports have not yet been produced to the AJC, and the requested videos of the underlying acts are legally exempt from production because their release would violate the personal privacy rights of the complainant in the case. If Mr. Judd has obtained the videos and or supplemental police reports for this case from some other source and has reviewed them, then he is knowingly misrepresenting their contents. If he has not seen the videos and supplemental reports, then his version of events is simply fabricated.
So you could take from this that the lawyers have seen the video.
That's what it sounds like. I think there's an inference in that passage that,
wow,
yeah.
This is nuts. the fact that we are dealing with 3 different conferences, 3 different schools and 3 different conferences dealing with legal situations.
There will be lawyers
within the athletics departments. It is insane.
Insane.
I can't wrap my head around this. I'm really curious, and I think that this was. I think a lot of this letter was to hopefully turn back some of the potential questions next week at SEC Media Days. But to me, I think it just ramps it up. The questions are going to be hard.
Some of this stuff doesn't go away. You just got to deal with it.
And a lot of the questions Kirby Smart gets next week will not be about football, unfortunately. Now, luckily, he'll have the kids there, and the kids.
Is it unfortunate?
Well, I mean, just that. For me, I would love SEC Media Days to be about football and football only, and that's just because it's SEC Media Days.
I mean, it's a little cleaner that way.
Yeah, but we have to. You have to ask the questions that are pertinent to what's going on in your program, and Kirby Smart's going to have to answer some questions next week.
And I mean, you would like to deal with football, but when you don't necessarily know whether the football players are going to be there all year or not.
That's absolutely something that will come up. Again, we'll be live at SEC Media Days next week, all week long. So make sure to tune in starting at 2:00 for this show, but we'll also have individual shows of all 14 teams broadcasting live exclusively on Main Street Sports Day, Twitter at @MS_sports today. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, Eric O'Flaherty joins us. We'll talk a little bit about Major League Baseball, the Braves, and much more right after this on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Did you know that up to 80% of us will experience back or neck pain during our lifetime? Many of you are offered surgery or addictive pain pills to relieve your chronic pain. At the Dr. Gill's Center for Back, Neck, Chronic Pain Relief, we have been leading the way to better health, naturally, and have helped tens of thousands of people right here in Middle Tennessee for the past 30 years.
I came to Dr. Gill about 10 years ago after my local doctors recommended surgery. I knew about Dr. Gill and wanted to see if he could help me. 10 years later, I am pain-free, no surgery, and no pain pills.
Surgery is scary, and over 40% of all back surgeries fail, creating a cycle of surgery and pills. There is a safer solution to your chronic pain. Make the call to the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, Chronic Pain Relief today and get your life back. This office visit is normally $299, but call today and receive your initial consultation, report of finding for just $49. But hurry, this offer won't last long. Call 615-768-8743. That's 615-768-8743.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Maury County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic service, and our Ortho Quick Walk-In Clinic lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Hey, welcome back in Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. We are live from the Lee Company studio here in Columbia, Tennessee. Glad to have you guys with us as we are getting set for our second guest of the day, and looking forward to this conversation after last night's All-Star game. The Atlanta
Which
Braves,
I did not get to see, by the way.
I watched the first 4 innings. The Atlanta Braves put 8 players in the All-Star game, and the National League broke their 9-game losing streak.
Coincidence? We think not.
So,
never mind that it was a Colorado Rocky that had the game-winning hit.
details, schmeetails. We'll bring in now, though, former Atlanta Braves reliever Eric O'Flaherty, as he's also host of the 755 is Real podcast with David O'Brien from The Athletic. Eric, thanks for joining us again, man. How are you?
Not bad. How you guys doing?
Doing well, thanks, man. How's I know that you are up in the Pacific Northwest. Did you make it to any of the All-Star festivities this weekend?
Yeah, I went to the Home Run Derby. Took my son, my 8-year-old.
He wasn't on the field, was he?
No.
Oh, okay, because I know one unlucky outfielder took a Vladdy shot to the face, and so just wanted to make sure that your son survived that event. But
yeah, I was thinking the same thing, honestly, watching the kids, and we were about, I don't know, 7 or 8 rows up behind home plate. You could see the speed the guys were hitting the balls with, and you know, these kids, they can't judge a ball coming that fast, and there's 40 or 50 of them out there. They're crashing into each other. That was my first thought, was there's no chance I'd send my son out there.
There you go.
Wow. Well, I think that's probably the difference in a former major leaguer's perception and some parent off the street who thinks, oh, this will be great. Yeah. Okay. Anyway,
He'll be a good player, I mean, if you get like a 14-year-old all-star kid or something like that, but I mean, if your kid's kind of mildly athletic and you send him out there, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah, clearly. Eric, we obviously follow the Braves, the 60-29 Braves as they come back from this All-Star break. And a lot of questions. I mean, the biggest thing to me is, the trade deadline is coming up here pretty soon. What do you get the team that has everything? If you were Alex Anthopoulos, what are you looking for right now in the trade market, if anything?
All you're hoping is things don't, fall apart. I mean, the way things are going, what can you even do to make this team better? Not to mention Fried's on the way. I mean, especially with the way the offense has been hitting, the bullpen's been doing pretty good lately. I can't really think of like a real need that they have other than to stay healthy.
And no trade's going to guarantee that. But
right. So you can maybe trade for some depth, but give up a bunch for a guy you might not need. I mean, I don't think they really need to do anything.
Now, you've been in this game long enough to know, or to feel pretty confident anyway. This isn't going to last what this offense is doing, is it?
I don't know. I've been thinking that. I mean, I've been thinking that for about a month now. Like when they went on that home run tear that they're still kind of on, it's like, this can't keep going. And then it gets to the point, if you even listen to the games, announcers are running out of ways to even describe it, or ways to even talk about it. They're just like, this is ridiculous, 4th home run in the 2nd inning.
Brandon Gaudin actually said, "I have no words."
Yeah,
sure.
He literally said that.
Well,
Because what do you do?
When a team has hit a home run in 26 straight games now, which is what they'll be at when they come back, I mean, what do you say? I mean, we find ourselves just saying the same thing every day when you're talking about this team.
Well, you guys know I do a podcast with Dave, and it's almost like we got to talk about it, but there's nothing left to say. You know, I mean, it's like what you said. How much longer can this last? And I mean, I doubt they'll keep going like this. You know, it's too long of a season to stay this hot. But there's really, I mean, I've never seen played against or played on an offense even close to what they've been doing. I can't even name a team that I remember being this hot at any point in my career.
And as a pitcher, particularly, Eric, when you look at that lineup, typically when you look at a lineup, you feel like there is some place you can go to get an out. That's not there with this lineup.
I mean, you had early in the season, you had Ozuna and Harris were struggling, you know, and so maybe like I always look at it from a reliever perspective. You know, when the game's kind of unfolding, you're looking at the score. Okay, we're up 3. I'm probably going to pitch. Where would I like that lineup to fall? And you know, toward the beginning of the season, at least through April, you thought maybe if I got Harris and Ozuna, then I can get lucky against Acuna or Olsen or something. You know, I could possibly put up a 0. But you look at this lineup now, and it's not just that everybody can hit; everybody can hurt you. Yeah, I mean, 1 through 9, somebody's going to take you deep. So I think the mental stress that puts on a pitcher, and even just starting off the game with Acuna, you know, you don't get to. He's not your typical leadoff hitter that might fillet a ball into right field and maybe steal a base. You know, if you mess up from the first hitter of the game, you're in trouble. He's going to hit a ball 450.
From the first pitch of the game.
From the first pitch. I mean, you're on high alert from the moment he steps in the box.
Your first pitch is a high-stress pitch.
It's probably a slider. You know, I mean, nobody likes to start off a game with a breaking ball, but that's probably the move against him because he'll swing.
Garrett Cole talked about it in the pregame interview last night ahead of the All-Star game. He said, "Look, I have to work the corners, but I've got to find a way to throw strikes." And Acuna hit one just about to the warning track and may have made the warning track. But that's the difficult part of trying to prepare for a team like the Atlanta Braves is 1 through 9. It's insane. Now, on the flip side, if you're pitching for the Atlanta Braves, it's a lot less stressful in the first inning typically.
Yeah, I mean, to think about Soroka coming back and getting, I don't know, he got 4 or 5 runs in the first inning of his first start. I mean, nothing to take the pressure off like that. You know, I mean, knowing that I remember a season we had, I think it was 2011. It felt like every single game we played was a 1-run game. And you could see our team really fatigued toward the end of the season. But when you have a 3, 4, 5 run lead in the first inning, it's like, okay, I can afford to give up 1 here, 2 there. And not to mention, it's not like the offense randomly did that. You get 4 in the first, you're thinking we might score 8 or 9 today. So I need to just eat up innings and just throw strikes and basically avoid the huge inning. But if you give up a leadoff double or something, you can just forget about that guy. If he scores, he scores. I'm strictly trying not to give up a crooked number because I know my team's going to put another one up.
And in that situation, like you said, the one thing you want to do is throw strikes. You don't want to go out there and give up a leadoff walk or anything like that because that just makes everybody mad.
Yeah. I don't know anybody that likes walks.
You know, Eric, 2 years ago, we saw this team struggle, and Ronald Acuna Jr. carried this team for the first 3 months of the year. All-Star break, trade deadline, got hot, won a World Series. Last year, pretty consistent throughout the year, but had some really high leverage games toward the end of the year with that last series with New York, and then of course having to win one in Florida and barely doing that. And you know, you got to the postseason where you get the week off because of the new playoff format. Is it better to be able, like you said, that 2011 team got fatigued? Do you think it's a problem to kind of coast through September potentially, or would you rather try to have to get hot through September and win in October?
Well, I think you definitely want to go into the playoffs playing well, but I think you could also argue pretty convincingly that chasing down the Mets from 10 games back last year really took it out of the team. And then, they ran into the hottest team in the playoffs was Phillies until they got to the World Series. But I've always kind of said I think that a team should do something like an inter squad or something competitive during that 2 or 3 day or 4 day layoff you get, because that can really kill your momentum. But if you think about it, if it can kill your momentum, if you're hot going in, then it's kind of fresh start either way. You're getting 4 days off, and that's what we talked about with the All-Star break too. Is like the only thing that could slow this team down the way they've been playing is the 4 days off of the All-Star break.
And I'm sure a lot of folks are hoping for that. Former Atlanta Braves reliever Eric O'Flaherty, co-host of 755 is Real podcast, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Eric, if there's anything that might offset any loss of momentum, I mean, you kind of got to like opening the second half, as it were, against the White Sox.
Yeah.
It's a nice way to kind of ease back into things, you would think.
Yeah, and I think this team, they've been a unit for long enough, and they've been through enough together that I don't really see it affecting them. But if it had any effect, and then you get to play with a team that's having a rough year, it's nice,
It does kind of seem, of course, obviously their best player and all-star suffered an injury in the home run derby.
Luis Robert with a calf injury or something in the home run derby, which makes you even more glad that Acuna and Olsen turned down the opportunity to play in it.
Yeah, and they play every day, those two guys. I was watching that thing, and I was just, you could see the fatigue in the guys. That first, like Julio put up 41 in the first round, and the second round he had, you're popping balls up. There was foul balls coming into the stands. The guys were getting so fatigued. But I really thought I think that format should change. And I thought it was smart that Acuna didn't do it, just because he's going to try to put on a show. He's been playing his ass off all year. He's into, I don't know if he's sat yet.
No, and speaking of that, do you feel like that's kind of why this team has been so successful, is that everybody is playing at their highest level right now? And obviously we don't think it's going to continue. It very well could. We don't know. But as the season wears on and you do try to get a couple of days off here and there, does that set you up for success? Because let's face it, this team has an opportunity to be one of the best teams in the history of baseball.
Yep.
And not winning a World Series would be pretty rough right now as a fan.
Yeah, you have to understand, though, that, and I'm sure you guys have heard it, but the playoffs are kind of a crapshoot.
Sure.
The Mariners won 116 one year, and I think they got bounced in the first round. It's kind of what this team is doing right, is they're good every year. And if you keep going back and you have the starting rotation they have, strong bullpen, impossible lineup right now, eventually it's going to fall into place and you're going to win one. But, if you can even look back at the tear the Braves went on in the 90s, won World Series.
Right.
It's that hard to win a World Series, and I don't think a season should be judged by that.
I agree, but you know what I remember most about the 98 Braves? Losing to the Padres.
Right,
and that's
right.
the unfortunate part as a fan. Sure. And that's just the way it is. And it's hard not to judge those teams based. Now, the 91, 92 Braves, I'm fine with. I can live with.
Right.
But the 90, 96, 98 Braves are tough.
If I walked into an establishment and Jim Leyritz was sitting there, I might punch him in his face. So
it's rough.
I'm just saying, he
No,
might kill me, but I would get one punch in. Yeah.
Now we got, you mentioned this earlier. This team has hit more home runs before the All-Star break than any other team in the history of baseball. I'm not trying to compare eras here, but when you talk about the best offenses in the history of baseball, the 29 Yankees are what everyone compares to. Where does this team stack up? Is this one of the best offenses in the history of baseball?
It's the best I've ever seen. Yeah, to be honest with you. You have to finish out the season.
Sure.
I'm sure there's teams that have had good first halves before, and it's all about your numbers at the end of the year. But I've never it's like I said, there's nowhere to fall in this lineup as a reliever where you'd feel comfortable. You know, you just want to miss the series. I mean,
my shoulder sure is inflamed this week. Darn.
Yeah, that hammy's been tight. It might be a good
the
time
dreaded
to get it right.
oblique injury, right, Eric?
Yeah, something. I mean, you know, you got to go out there and pitch, but it's just I've never seen a lineup where it feels like 9 guys are hot, and that's what you can feel good about. Is I don't think even if 3 or 4 guys start struggling, you're still in good shape. You're still going to score runs. Where other lineups, they have 2, 3, 4 guys or a little cluster in the middle of it that they feel like that's where they have to get their runs, and the top and bottom half aren't hitting. You know, this lineup, if people struggle, you still got 6 more hot hitters.
And the thing about it, Eric, you know, for all of the deserved attention that this offense has gotten right now, again, Atlanta sits at 60-29 with 3/5 of their starting rotation. And the 2 guys that have missed are their Cy Young runner-up from last year and the only 20-game winner in the major leagues from last year.
Yep.
I mean, what, are they going to cool off when Max and Kyle come back or what?
No, they're not. You know, I mean, you'd have to have a lot of things go wrong for this team to cool off. And it is baseball, stuff happens, but that's why when you talk about the trade deadline, it's kind of like, you can only mess this team up.
And there you go.
That's the thing. So with Max Fried obviously throwing already, potentially, I don't know what the prognosis is for the return of Kyle Wright, but this starting rotation right now with Max Fried, who's the number 5? Because Colby Allard's getting the start this weekend. Is Michael Soroka involved in this situation? Is Jared Schuster involved? Is Dylan Dodd in Gwinnett for good? Like, do we know anything as far as the rotation is concerned?
I mean, who cares? You know, I mean, it's like I don't. That's a great problem to have. Is trying to figure out who your number 5 is and having a bunch of great options. I think Soroka's been throwing the ball really well his last couple times out. Max is obviously not going to be. You expect him to be an ace, but there's an argument that Elder's pitched like an ace and Strider's pitched like an ace too. Mm-hmm. And then Charlie's Charlie.
Yeah.
And when you get to October, Charlie is Charlie.
Yeah, he's not going to be fazed by really any situation, and I don't think Max or Strider will either. Elder seems pretty calm. I think you could go with those 4 and feel pretty good about it, and you might get Kyle Wright back too.
Eric O'Flaherty, former Braves reliever, joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Eric, before we let you go, you're a former Braves reliever, but you also spent a little time over on the left coast with the Oakland Athletics. As you look at that situation right now, as a former player there, what's your reaction to that whole deal?
It's just sad, you know. I mean, they have a pretty solid fan base. When the team, you know, does some things and plays well, those people turn out, and they don't always sell out. But the ones that come to the games, I mean, they bring it. You know, it's a good atmosphere when they're good, and you've watched it. You know, look at the guys they've traded away: Josh Donaldson, Matt Olson, Chapman, Sean Murphy. I mean, you look at teams like this and you think, what if they? I think it's an ownership thing, obviously, but what if their intent was to win and keep their guys? How good would they be? You know, and it's got to be so frustrating for their development staff. You know, their minor league guys, their minor league coordinators, all these people that are developing these guys, making them better, watch them have 2 or 3 good years and just get tossed off, and then they got to fix more guys and raise more prospects. I think it's got to be frustrating for everybody involved. I don't have a full grasp of the situation, why they can't get a new stadium or if they even want to stay in Oakland, but I'm guessing if they move, they're not going to be the Vegas A's, you know. So to see those colors and that fan base and everything kind of die, it's just sad to me.
Yeah, I mean that's a team that goes back to Philadelphia.
Yeah, and I mean, but like you said, that fan base, and you've seen that team be good in Oakland. I mean, you think about, You know, those guys of the
Tejada,
70s.
Hudson. Oh, yeah. The Raleigh Fingers, Reggie Jackson.
Exactly. But
Bash
I mean,
Brothers. I mean,
the Bash Brothers, Dave Stewart, Carney Lansford, that bunch. Oh, man, I love those guys. Yeah. So for that fan base, it's really, like you said, it's just sad.
Yeah. I mean, you think about being a fan of a team your whole life, you know, and in a lot of families, it's part of like, that's how you bonded with your dad. And yeah, it's part of the whole family. And it's something that they really, I mean, just grew up with. And then think about it just being gone, you know, losing it. We kind of had that with the Sonics. I grew up watching the Sonics, and their owner, I guess, wanted to move them. You know, he wanted to get out of Seattle, and the city's been trying to get a team ever since. And we don't know if we'll ever get one again. But if you're a huge basketball fan in Seattle, it's like you got to drive down to Portland, and you're not going to feel the same about some other team. You know, when you grow up a fan of a franchise, you're a fan for life, and then it's just poof, gone. I mean, that's just a sad thing. And I hope it doesn't happen. I don't know if they can stop it or where it's at now, because I haven't been paying too much attention. But more than anything, it's just a sad thing.
It's an owners. The owners still have to vote, so I guess they could potentially vote no, but don't likely see that happening.
They seem to stick together on these things.
Yeah. Eric, as always, man, we appreciate you taking some time with us today. Looking forward to the second half of this season, and hopefully we can talk to you around the time of the World Series when the Braves will be getting ready to take on the American League champs.
Cool. Yep. Hit me up, fellas.
All right. We will go now to the weirdest and wildest news from across the world, literally across the world on Wild and Wacky Wednesday. Mo, let's go across the world. Thailand has announced
the real cheeseburger. All these others are fake. Okay.
They are, because this burger is made of nothing but 20 slices of cheese between 2 classic sesame seed buns.
Oh, wow.
No meat, no veggies, no condiments in sight. Just 20 slices of American cheese,
20
baby.
Slices?
20 slices of American cheese.
That's a lot of cheese, man. Oh, my goodness.
That's a lot of cheese. So I'm just saying, watch out.
That's a cheeseburger.
I don't think, let's just say you're going to need some help after you eat that one.
Yeah.
It is available for $3.10
in American money.
In American dollars.
Okay.
$3.
But it's in Thailand, right?
That's right.
So that's interesting. Okay.
Despite being a big fan of cheese, one man said he struggled eating even half this burger. So
yeah, that's a lot.
There you go. That is story number 1. Number 2, in Massachusetts,
a little closer to home,
someone has got a little splaining to do, and their wallet's going to be a little lighter after they returned an overdue library book. The overdue library book, however, was checked out just 1 year after Orville and Wilbur Wright took their first flight. 119 years it has been overdue at the New Bedford Public Library.
Somehow I'm thinking that the person that returned that book isn't the person that checked it out. Now, I could be wrong.
I could be wrong.
I could be wrong.
Oh, man. But yes, James Clerk Maxwell's An Elementary Treatise on Electricity was returned after being checked out on Valentine's Day, which wasn't Valentine's Day in 1904 because there was no
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day, February 14th, 1904. And the discovery occurred when Stuart Plain, this curator of rare books at West Virginia University, was sorting through a recent donation of books. He noticed it was a collection of the New Bedford Library card and had not been stamped withdrawn, and indicating that while extremely overdue, the book had not been discarded.
That's wild.
And apparently came back in good condition. How about that? So whoever kept it took good care of it. 119 years old. So there you go.
I don't guess there's many concepts in that book that are still
Probably
used.
not. That's a good question. But the value of the book is it's not digital. It's not going to disappear. Just holding it, you get the sense someone having this book 120 years ago, reading it, and here it is in my hand.
And not returning it.
There you go. That's going to do it for today. We'll be back tomorrow at Cumberland University for the TSWA Awards and Hall of Fame banquet. For Mo, I'm Chris. We'll see you guys tomorrow.